1. Because you haven't spoken in so long, the tongue stumbles and stutters, sticks to the roof and floor as if the mouth were just a house in which it could stagger like a body unto itself. You once loved a man so tall, sometimes you stood on a chair to kiss him. 2. What to say when one says you're so musical, takes your stuttering for scatting, takes your stagger for strutting, takes your try and try it again for willful, playful deviation. It makes you want to not holla, silence to misperception's face. 3. It ain't even morning or early, though the sunup says day, and you've been staggering lange Zeit gegen a certain breathless stillness that we can't but call death. Though stillness suggests a possibility of less than dead, of move, of still be. 4. How that one calling your trying music, calling your saying entertaining, thinks there's no then that we, who then that we, remember, trace in our permutations of say. What mastodonic presumptions precede and follow each word, each be, each bitter being. 5. These yawns into which we enter, as into a harbor, come, go, don't, says the vocal oceans which usher each us, so unlike any ship steered or steering into. This is a habit of place and placing a body. Which choruses of limbs and wanting, of limp, linger in each syllabic foot, tapping its chronic codes. From Insomniloquies. Earthworms aren't maggots. Eating them ain't planting a tree or a flag. She wants to shout at her TV when some Sue gulps earthworms from a cup. She wants to shout at this idea that there's payback for what's done to come. Earthworms aren't decomposers nor distraction from street corner noise. You think a woman would know this, she thinks. This thought, a squirrel on a lawn. You think a woman, there are thoughts of other women, more squirrels. I'd hate you to miss sex when she wanted to be a nun. Her mother, I'd like to hear this, what do you know about a man, when she wrote home about her lover whose mother taught her to knit. When she wrote home about knitting, she was still the girl incognizant, still the girl writing, we are the faces we wear in flashback. Still the girl with a face like a movie screen who knit skull caps with yarn red as cartoon blood, as red as Mammy Two Shoes shoes, matchstick heads, yarn red as cartoon lips and tongues, red as bandanas and pomegranates. Red as blood butterflied across the seat and white of summer culottes. Red as blood that says woman, maybe mother, says watch and count. Red as velvet cakes she thawed and ate over 2 months' morning times. Red as velvet curtains she wanted to drape around this moment. Red as morning, as bluster, as bluff, as the flat of offering plates. Red as morning, as unheeded signal to stop, as sliced rare meat. Red as cherry now and laters, as pickled pig's lips, as bruised knuckles. Red as cherry blow pops, as big red gum, as loitering before sleep. Red as distant red hook bees, drunk on cherry fungicide cocktails. Red as distant space mapped bought and belonging to brutish say-so. Red as the administration of districts and blocked off blocks. Red as the administration of want, as the red-handed wave so long. Red as red squirrels, as maples, as districts set for and lit with wanting. Red as red squirrels, North American, Eurasian, native, migrant. Red as red as red. Ass red as a baboon's ass is red. Come on, stop. Red ass red, as seeping of coulda, woulda, you know. Red as subjunctive being the butt of taken and took down. Red as subjecting beings becoming to merchandising lines and limits. A red letter day in the red light district of insomniac night. A red letter day for seeing red scare the shit out of reason. Red culled from rubia or madder root lends the hermit majesty, the woman infamy. Red culled from sawdust of the Brazil wood tree primped a pope's robes. Pimped pussy. Red culled from clay, from crushed conch meal, kermes, from worms dried and ground. Red culled from cinnabar, mined by the enslaved, the imprisoned, not eyes. Red as compass, gauge, as stripe, as strike, as undertone of home. Red as compass, gauge of light, cycling the edges of 620 to 740 nanometers. Red as was here, as becoming not here. Red as note and gone and not. Each red a note the ears noticing and gnawing, notational nothings. Each red a sheepish syllable counted in sleep's pursuit. Each red a sheepish syllable clocking the pursuit of shit. Each red a buzz, a buzz, a buzz, a buzz, a blazon of want. Color that the temporarily colorblind first perceive, red. Be utterly fly swims through corner voices. To be is to be. Be utterly fly, be itch, be road, be ache, between want, have, reach. Color that disappears in early film, black, boot black, blue black. In language, in landscape, inscape. In language, in landscape, inscape, in only after taking in my mother landscape along with the voices of that place. A girl who looks like her father is born for luck. Alcohol, Algiers, Alligator, Amazing Grace, Amelia, Angola, Atchafalaya, Aunt Noni. Aunt's sister, Azarine, back of town, Bayou, because her daddy died or left. Because the firstborn baby died. Beignets, bitch, Bootsy, Cafe au lait, Calliope Projects, Canal Street, Cardella, Cast Iron, Catching Coconuts, Catching Sense, Cayenne, Clio Street, Cockroaches, Comb Them Kitchens, Congo Square, Cornbread, Courtyard, Cousins, CPT, Crawfish, Creole, Dark, Darker, Dark-Skinned, Daughters, Dead End, Desire, Desire Projects, Desire Unmet is Desire Multiplied, Dirty Rice, Dorothy, Elysian Fields, Ereto, Etouffee, Euterpe, Ezekiel, Father John's, Filet, firstborn done died. Fleur de lis, flood for true. Front porch, Galvez, Girt Town, gimme some. Girl, gimme got shot. Get up in here, God don't like ugly. Good hair, grandma, grandpa done lost his mind. Grief grown rooted and wild. Grief like dirt. Hard-headed, hard-hearted, hard I'm sorry, hard-headed, hard-hearted. Her mouth don't know no Sunday. High yellow, Holy Ghost hoodoo, how sweet the sound. How y'all doing? How your mama and them? I ain't playing with you, no. Jacks, jambalaya, jazz, jump back, jump rope, Katie, kick back, kick your ass, kitchens on your neck, knickknacks, Kool-Aid, lanyap, lakefront, left, levy, leveraging, light skin, lighter than a paper bag, Louis. St. Louis, Louis the 14th, my belle, my deal, Magnolias, make groceries, Martin Luther King Boulevard, Melpomene Projects, Memory, Mental Ward, Mississippi, Mississippi Bridge, Mississippi River, Miss Myrtle, Miss Tip, Moriel, Morning, Mosquitoes, Morning, Mud Bugs, Muffaletta, Nappy-Headed, Neckbone, Nutriground, Nutrirats, nobody likes a bone but a dog. NOPD, not luck enough to keep a body strong. Okra gumbo, out front of town, oysters, pecans, pickled pig's lips. Pispo, po' boys, porch monkeys, pothoes, quadroons, quarter, quiet, rain through the living room windows, red beans, red bone, Reverend Prophet, rice, river, rue, saints, sedity, sassafras, sachimo, screen doors, semen, seventh ward, snowballs. Speak the word to me. Spit on the broom to stay out of jail. St. Charles Avenue, Stronger Hope Baptist Church, Superdome, Swamp, Tambourine, Chapatulas, tender-headed, tender-hearted, tenderoni, Terpasqua. Thought, throw me something, mister. Tipitinas, trouble don't last always. Uppity, vagina, Virginia, voodoo, wade in the water. Wishes go the way of sweepstakes. Where you at? Where you from? Woman, wrought iron. Your ma, your pa, your greasy, greasy grandma. You ain't nothing. You thought like Aunt Hannah, who thought cat shit was banana. Xavier, Zataran, Zulu, Zydeco. Amen. Was speech possible? Only after taking in my mother landscape was speech possible.
A was for ox. The first oxygen conversion occurred as an incline, a sharp bend, as in wrench. The elements surrounding it were strong, physically violent ones: wreck, wrestle, wretch, with the exception of wren. The next major activity was wrinkle, again related to wrench, with the addition of wind. Wrist action proceeded from there: wrist lock, wrist pin, wrist shot, wrist wrestle, wristy, preparing us motor-wise to write our own ticket, write down, and write in. Oil fish to old chap for sea. Performing military service for the king and bearing a child have a common medieval root. The progression to this point is first academic, then technical. Textbooks give way to textiles, which lead to T formations and T groups. We pause to add th and proceed through Mediterranean anemia, deep seas, Greek muses, pesticides, young shoots, and the instinctual desire for death. It is there that we find thane, to be followed by all manner of thanks, including the thank you, ma'am, a ridge built across a road so the rain will roll off. Joie and fronting for bow wow and box before the oi in boy. The movement between can be described either as sluggish or patient, depending on one's bent. From side piece to horsehairs, bells to vulgar, fin to front, head to hollow, weather edge to alley, capsule to saw, nephron to spar, the action continues alternating left to right, accompanied by the chant, 1 stick, 2 head, 3 hair, 4 frog, 5 screw. Periodic system to perlite for G. The expressions investment of bone, urn of mosses, and newt of round take their positions as observers by encircling a mound. Walking about, they possess an access to the elements occurring there in much the same way permafrost prefigures falling by passing large stones through the entire thickness of walls. To tantalite for eye. A tree trunk is something pressed together, and so is money, weighed. Both produce softly graded shadows by repeated small touches resembling freckles, or use 4 to become appendages capable of passing implements through substances with circular movements. Coloration to columnar for K. At the cornice, a small particle of gold in a miner's pan. At the frieze, seed used as a source of oil. At the architrave, cabbage mashed with potato. At the capital, corms of the meadow saffron. At the shaft, a light meal allowed on fast days. At the base, hawks well under the body. And at the pedestal, a small collar pierced to receive the inner end of a balance spring. Armenian to a rose for M. The relationship of hip to cube. 1. Helmet, isometric pentrose. 2. Gorget, distal row of tarsal bones. 3. Shoulder piece, erect spandex. 4. Palate, conical sac. 5. Breastplate, refuge coal screenings. 6. Brassard, points of attachment for the spat. 7. Elbow piece, perigee steel. 8. Skirt of tasses, Telios sea breams. 9. Tuli, olivine stimuli. 10. Gauntlet, cage birds with lime and salts. 11. Culusi, Rugo's nutlets. 12. Knee piece, perche apaloon. 13. Jambeau, concentric sally. 14. Sabaton, flagella dogbone. Lamp to landgrave for O. Open work in the head is flanked by arrow plus loving on the left and track team runner on the right. Both lines suggest xylem, igneous rocks, horse latitudes, planted islands, buffocelli, airfoils, and tuft ambles as they transmit and receive delicate endings consisting chiefly of potash feldspar. Telegraph boy to tell for Q. Fog and pus first link in the relationship of down to off, as in laying the book on the table. Then, with a little push, plug and stuff find themselves to be classical yet vulgar kin, moving warily toward herbs having large, silky immense. Bohemia Moravia to Bollock for S. The bowl, with bowl, the action begins by pointing overhead to cloth canopies, hard shingles, common eagles, and gods of light, mistletoe sprigs. But there the motion is left incomplete as a timeout is taken for a whalebone blow. A ridge of land is left unplowed and broken into 9 compartments to be rounded off and whirled. Mobilizer to modern language for you. The Mobius strip is part of the writing as carving tradition. First, the rectangle is held steady at one end and given a sudden half twist at the other. The ends then are taped or glued together, resulting in a one-sided figure where before there were 2. This 180-degree turn is much like the suffix mo, which, after numerals or their names, indicates the number of leaves made by folding a sheet of paper. Yay to yill for W. The color yellow comes from light bay, but whether the image refers to light over the bay or light from the bay is not certain. The definition is surrounded by trees, tulip wood, buckthorn, smoke, birch, pine, osage orange, jessamine, and suggests that we turn to the area of far and wide and far away for further clarification. Trellis through to trompe for Y. 3 skips around for 7 pages as a dinosaur here, a Welsh cupboard there. At Trick, the preliminary sketch for 3's heraldry is complete. A stiff knee is located in the coat of arms upper left corner. France's flag flies below with a backgammon game beside it and a spare wheel in the right to wind things up.
We were to begin again. This place hangs in the center and continues to either side. Both start and finish. So many endings possible and easy. So many hearts to a city, but variation insists an end is not to be so forecastable or singular. Start again when we began to invent clocks and draw toward a way we could see time from a place we shared with no walls and only a tall sort of structure visible wherever you are in the city, whichever point, whatever street, however there. Actually seems a little bit Parisian. Divided as half of me is small and distant. The other tongue talks of exterior objects, while this one speaks of water and limitation. Neither understands the other, and while looking for a translator, the street ends, the clock changes. Drummers gather, crowd like a meteor, a crush. Tongue only delivers, does not listen, stone deaf. All talking makes a crowd plural agitation. Stand here and see the river an entirely different way. Under water is air, and through air passage. Color is another wave that takes sand, rocks, bridge. Water will reflect everything but what is inside it. It is like that, trying to describe it. Like that, I scramble along a shore, catching up to the crowds, people standing there, each one a stranger. What do I have to say to them? I want to tell them, but language has divided. We stand divided, each another point, a line. I love all waste, for in the litter my neighbors leave is the solution of how they move. People, cities, towns, ports, promontories, hills, woods, mountains, valleys, rivers, and fountains, therein contained. Also of seas with their cliffs, reaches, turnings, elbows, quicksands, rocks, flats, shelves, and shores, whatever in which I find them contained in visible swarming and algorithms, feeling all their mathematical and progressive natures, shells that accumulate in knowing and mystery, but in their tide pools, basins, and bays they are sometimes invisible to me, however decoder I try to be. The survey of the world or situation of the earth, so much as is inhabited. Once so many fires burned along the shores and shelves before literal zone turned to contagious interaction. The landscape is unsettled, enormous. Artificial forms travel over more subtle variations. Polyhedrons with ruins and strapwork. Wood blocks print over forests and convey into paper terms I thought I had set forth through observing equations, shapes that signal back, even though distortion of ink blurs to dissolve. Ready? The circle ascends onto the base of triangles. I'll try to show it as I read. From there, it begins to whir. One side of the base bulges, but restricted by girth, creates a B turned outward, a difficult and beveled B that in turn splits apart to that other numeral, beta, and, as if to bulge out from its constrained noble side, tilts perilously close to an 8, or infinity, if infinity were to dive fully into its angle and descend onto the base. Above, the blurred spinning of the circle has created about itself a cup or half container that, with continued speed, builds upwards so the lowest part of the sphere becomes obscured. What circulates above it around, perhaps in opposite direction, or other side, retains the demicircular or half-spherical shape, but bloats, swells almost to the same dimension as the base, from which inexplicable needles continue to point, in supposed exploration of space abutting their every direction. So now, sighting within the exterior spinning cup, the sphere has been secondarily enclosed by an open-sided triangle transparent enough to reveal several pentagons jumbled together in the same disorder as a beehive interior, if a beehive were 5-sided and not hexagrammatic. The same girds the newly formed container, or half-world, assertive support necessary to the fledgling heating construction. Plastic, as opposed to its needled base and doubly outlined materials appear. Appearances, though, are not reality, and a look of solidity conceals hollow cores and treacherous joining. The sea can be as milk, but milk can never be as the sea, nor can wine. The salt of sea would not serve in milk or wine, but even more so, milk and wine indicate one sort of state and color, despite wine's own living properties that might make it like ruby or plum. While the sea is, as so many artists have depicted, so many aspects, complexities, again, as silver, as glass, as metal, as glinting, as treacherous, as calm, as yellow or translucent green as in a Turner, or as in a Kellman's thousands of penciled gray waves, each slightly different, yet similar enough to create a visual coherence of sea. A meditative thing of infinite elements, a complexity of extensive existence, a thing that drops off the ends of the earth, that extends through the core of the planet to reach the other side, that its depths is a blue so impossible as to be black, inhabited by luminous creatures who do not see red light wavelengths lost in pressure and distance and past, that vents of fresh earth crust in which more creatures live, feeding off extremes of heat and pressure, and still a thing that washes this planet, makes us unique, unlike anything else, not gas spinning into rings of dust relentlessly blown into again red, a red haze surrounding the sphere. Instead, it makes us deep blue and streaky and many-colored, edging the blue, dominance of ever-shifting blue, most fragile of colors, fading and reappearing from black to silver to milk, wine. What could be similar to this? Universe is sea? From our perspective, do stars shift in such complex interaction a change from second to minute? Sky again may not contain such active composition of so many dimensions, though sea imitates sky, and in that way sky leads in color and depthless stability within seconds of change. From here it may be hard to tell of life as equivalent metaphor. What seems discernibly variable to me may be in more distant unfamiliarity seem as symmetrical as an ocean full of waves. So what is sea's equivalent metaphor if not to itself? What is at least somewhat like another? Where in the distance between one and the other is the interaction of complex vibrancy edging into beauty? Between figuration and abstraction, she hated circles, many of them together making that moonlight transition image that shivers the eye, or phases, not like phases. Just like many flowers together, more flowers, or trees, lots of trees. Insects, not so much. Bugs, bees, biting, myriads of them, just like flocks traveling across the world before nets, before guns, before arrows, slings and arrows. Cats, feral pigs, dogs, rats, all the escapees, their populations chewing upward in inexorable mathematical increase. Anything laid down on paper resembles a bulge, or a landscape of bulges, of foothills, then mountains, real ones, with cloves, where the devil roams with his little cloven feet when he wants to get away from the world of men.